All righty. Islam, everyone. Hey, Roz.
Yes.
Are you unmuted?
I am.
No, you're not. Well, I just unmuted you, so
I'll say muted.
just let me know how I sound. And I need a Quran because I don't have one. I do this man, we don't have I didn't think to look for the silver round table.
But it has a lynch now, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yes, I do, because I got too much stuff for the ledge.
I'll try to find it.
All right. Everyone, does anyone have a Quran on them? All right, well, I'm going to take a picture of it and put it on my phone. A Quran? Quran?
Anybody have a 7-7 Quran on it?
717? Is that one in back there? You see that is? No.
Asiatic.
Oh! I don't have my super binocular glasses on because I don't want to be seeing people that close, so I do not have it. But before I need that table. No, because I need something to put it on. If I don't have it, then I can just use a chair or something. That stuff I can spread it out. Because I got a lot of, but, well, we don't have a Quran on us. And no.
Jay, you got the Quran on your robe, on the black
I'm going to take, I should know it by heart, but I don't want to tax my brain. I have enough going on the brain.
They're not going on everywhere.
Yeah, well, I don't know about everywhere, but I know, man, I've been studying I'm always studying, but, man, I found some juicy information.
About what?
I told you about the whole layout of the infiltration, the Ottoman Empire, how it fell, the stuff like that, and
but it really didn't matter.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, all right, good.
But it doesn't matter much about that, though, because the treaty is always in place to keep our relationships, regardless of what happens.
Oh, but this is information I think everybody needs to know because, well, I'm going to lay it out for a purpose, and then we can talk about it. Oh, I didn't even see your text. I am outside. Just now seeing it. Oh, all right. Cool. Thank you. All right. Can we? All right. 25. 22. 23. 24. Then that's it. 25. Everyone. We are officially starting the class. Welcome to Moor's Heritage and History School. This is Anita L. We got Roz Mariah in the house. Ms. Ryan here? Did Ms. come with you? Ms. David, a technical genius. All right, so what we do, we begin each class, usually if we have a Quran, by reading chapter 25. If you are in agreement with it, affirm after I finish reading by saying Islam. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given me son. Now the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may, wait a minute. Let the bonds of affection, therefore, unite thee with thy brothers and sisters, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him out. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. so shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole nation, and his care be continued to you all and your love to each other. Islam. Whew. That sounded strange, like I haven't read it in a while. So I'm done with this. So let me turn it off. How many people checked out the broadcast last night? How many people know we got a broadcast? Oh, you know. You checked it out. All right. Do you guys know that there is a, all right, there is a MHHS, stands for Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open broadcast that takes place every Tuesday via internet, and there is a number you can call in, and the call-in number is on the front page, I believe, of the RVBey Publications website, but I know it's a bit confusing because we got like 3 numbers now because we were using the new number that they gave us. We were using the new number that they gave us, but then I found out some people who have Metro PCS wasn't able to call in. So we reverted back to the 2 numbers we know everybody can call in on and still work. That number is, let's see. Thank you. Let's see if I can find the number.
Does it still work now?
They still work. Yep, they do still work. And, I'm killing myself. This is why I need my table. 425-569-5201 is the second number they gave us. The original number is 347-945-5899.
Yeah, you're going too fast.
Apologies. 425, we have markers? 425-569-5201. That's the second number they gave us, and it works. Our original number is 347-945-5899. Can we turn this down a little? And the first number, 425-569-5201. And then 347-945-5899. That's our original number, and apparently it still works, and the Metro PCS people can call in and get in and listen to the broadcast. So if you hear any recording of asking you for finance, hang up and call the other number.
Right.
If you call one of the numbers and it says this line is full, hang up and call one of the other numbers. All right?
And all of that is because they originally said that they were changing the number.
Yes. Well, no. What happened was they never told us they was changing the numbers. We just saw this new number, and I was like, what is this new number? But everybody was getting in. I didn't get any complaints from anybody. So I said, I don't know what that number is. So I tried to call to find out, and, I couldn't get through to them. So I just kept on telling everybody that that's the number.
But some people were getting recording after.
Somebody did mention that they got a recording, and it was saying that the line is full, but if you want to continue to listen or something, to pay something, and we didn't know anything about that. But if you ever hear anything like that, just hang up and call one of the other numbers. Don't ever pay to listen to the broadcast. It's every Tuesday, and it begins at 9:30. Now, every Wednesday, this class is broadcast from 7:30 until 10, or 10:30, but 10 is when we try to shut it down. And then every third Thursday at 9 p.m., we have Sons of Allah and Mizraim Aleph Il and Cujo Azwa Il near Canaan land. They host that. It's geared towards the sons. Of course, you know, it doesn't exclude mother. And then every third Sunday of the month, we have Sisters Standing on Law at 1 p.m. That's geared towards getting sisters up to speed regarding law, heritage, their obligations. You know, and of course, we don't exclude the sons, but it's geared towards getting mothers up to speed because we see sons at the classes and the lectures and everything all the time. So we're trying to get to the sisters. So that's what Sisters Standing on Law was established for, to get information to the sisters, get a dialogue going, get some information to the sisters, because sometimes they're not able to come to a class because they got babies and stuff like that, you know, or they didn't know about it. And hopefully some sister will know about it and tell another sister and then tell another sister, and then we get a bunch of sisters on the call, and they're sharp about law and heritage, and we can get it moving. So that's the forum so far. That's what, four programs. Four, all free, and we're looking to add a fifth one. Archives. Oh, and there are archives. You can download. Thank you. The archives are available for download. We've been doing this since 2013. You can go all the way back to 2013 and download the archives. So there's a whole lot of information that you can use. You can download it, and you can even use it to do some homeschooling. If I had children, young children in school, I would take them out because I did it once. I can do it again. It's not difficult. Really, it's not difficult. We have been conditioned to believe that, oh, my God, we can't leave our children, you know, or to their own devices because they'll tear everything up. No, that's where discipline comes in. You discipline your children. You talk to them and treat them like they got some common sense, you know, and they will behave like they got common sense. If you're giving I'm not knocking anybody's decision where their children are concerned, but it is my opinion that if you got one of those electronic toys for your children, you're just setting them up to be fighters. All they have for those instruments, those electronic games, and even if you yourself don't purchase them, like in my family, the cousins got cousins with inappropriate toys, and they can talk and switch it electronically online. So even though you might be thinking, oh, I'm getting age-appropriate stuff for my child, and they're going to chit-chat with their cousin, but their cousin, they have inappropriate stuff. And so you think your child is inappropriate, getting stuff that's appropriate for their age, only to find out long after the fact, oh, my God, they got access to inappropriate stuff. That's teaching them just to fight, just to be violent, not to use any kind of thinking capability, no critical thinking whatsoever going on. And I just personally think that it's moving us farther and farther away from our heritage, because our children can't even remember him. I send my grandson upstairs to get something, and he comes back with nothing. And I'm like, what happened to it? Well, what did you send me to it for? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But what is that from? I know it could be dating myself, but I remember when I was going to elementary school, we had to memorize certain things before we can get to the next grade. And I hear that's not even going on in the schools anymore. They're not even teaching them how to be writers, like to be able to write in, I call it script, others call it cursive. That's our heritage. They are, breeding out of our children the elegant heritage of calligraphy, because that's what it all comes from. Writing in script is all attached to calligraphy. So now our children are not going to be able to be the eloquent writers that their ancestors were. So we have to this is crazy. We have to stay on top of a lot of stuff.
Say what people want.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Whatever like that. But they don't know they have a right to do so, and then they get influenced by the local saying, oh, no, you can't take your child out. Well, what you have to understand is you knew what your right was. You would not be threatened by that propaganda or by that threat. And you would accept the fact that of course they're going to say that. That's all they know. But when they say to you, it's the law, you know it's not. Or, let me see that law. Now, when they show you that, this is intellect, then you look at it, and within the writing of it, within it itself, it excludes you. But no, not question those things, when yet all of them are municipal corporation establishment, including our society. All of them. So that is the only reason you don't ask. And now we're at this, someone called and said, well, that it's a corporation or some corporation regarding school. Well, now they're saying, you can't take your child out. We got to catch you if you are able to teach your child. Am I right? Okay, all right. Well, that also focus also. Law, they think it's right, and they don't get that. Of course they're going to say that. They're losing your involvement and then getting any finance from you and your child. You don't care about that. You only care about your child and your child's education. Like, there is one thing I want to address real quick. Huh? All right, now hold on. They're going to charge her everything that's not coming to school. That's something good. What authority do they have over her to say that? See, this is why it's so important for us to understand jurisdiction issues. How are they going to tell her that, well, if your child doesn't come to school, we're going to charge you? That's ridiculous. Because obviously, if the child has an issue, that must be what needs to be addressed. They're saying to you, I don't give a damn. We're going to get finance somewhere, somehow, and we're going to have you fit into what we think you ought to be and do. A this information regarding the family and nationality is about family. Family is politics. Politics is what is your allegiance to your own family. It doesn't matter about the position you're in. What matters is that who are they to tell you? What authority do they have over your life? You know already now that it's not one that has anything to do with what's good. Now, the child, let me ask this question, approximation of the child's age. All right, 16. He's not a child. 13 is the age in divine order. That's why you have the so-called, what you call Jewish community saying that that's the bar mitzvah and the bat mitzvah. We extend lessons for our children too long in the 8 years of grammar school, 12 years, and then doctoral or natural. Well, don't let them determine what's accountable and law. Absolutely. So now he's going to school listening to lies. See, you got to understand, our children today are the ancestors, like self-concerned, right? They have it, they started resulting in that in the spirit things that they belong. And you, us parents, want to keep them in that. Of course. So then they started labeling them because they don't fit into that little box, which they're raising, what did you say, not to think, perfect ladder. And that's their prerogative if that's what they want to do. But that's not what you got to do. And once we free our mind of that, or else will come. But if we can't free our mind of that specific fact, without talking about, well, you know what they're going to do, so they're going to do that. That's for identifying the problem. So because I'm still right here, you don't need nobody to tell you when you just violate. So the 16-year-old was just, that's a special age anyway. But in the East, one other thing, I know that you might not have been going to discuss this, But if we could put it on the text before or after, because I was asked about, how to do the trust thing. And I would like to say this. Last week we had, I think, Bay just eloquently told you what your trust was. On the line, in the beginning, not in the beginning. You are the trustee and the beneficiary of the earth and resources of the earth. You can't get that straight first. Deed doesn't mean a written piece of paper. It's your deed. Now, if you can't get that straight first, don't try to write no trust, which is supposed to be what? Private. If it's private, what's going on is not private. But, and you can speak on that as well, but as you do that.
Do we have markers?
Yes,
I need markers. First of all, as it relates to trust, I will say this. If you don't have a firm foundation of law, that law being the American Constitution, we don't even need to talk about trust.
That's true.
No, I said that these are recorded and they're on they're archived. You can download them for free. MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, and the link and everything that I just told you, it's on the RVBey Publications website, and Rhonda's probably going to give you a handout, or she's got a card with that on it. So you can get it from her as well. All right? So, trust. Everybody is obsessed with trust. I want to make a trust. How many people have heard about trust? You've just been inundated, right? Just inundated. You know, back in 2008, everybody was inundated with UCCs. I got to have a financial statement, secure party. Oh my God, if I don't have it, I can't engage in commerce. Well, this is not an issue of commerce. Unless you got some merchandise. How many people got some merchandise here? Merchandise. Merchandise is not something that you go and buy 50,000 of the same outfit and then you go to the flea market and sell it. That's not merchandise. Not from our heritage. That's not merchandise. From our heritage, merchandise is you make a one-of-a-kind outfit and you sell that along with some other one-of-a-kind outfits that you made with your hands. That's merchandise. All right? Merchandise is you found a piece of driftwood and you carved something that nobody else has ever made, and it's unique to that piece of wood. That's like this stuff right here, like you can tell somebody, this looks like something somebody made, right? Right? This is merchandise. Because somebody took it, now usually it's a little bit more elaborate than this. Statues over there, that's merchandise. Because somebody took some wood and carved those statues that's all around the room, and they went and they sold it, and these people here went and bought it. That's merchandise. That's our heritage. It's not complicated. Let me tell you how simple merchandise is. My good son, the most noble son, Fonteus Ill, talked about spices. Who knew that getting into the spice trade was so easy? Very easy. How many people know how to plant something? How many people got a relative good green thumb? It's not going to die. You're not going to come to your house and see brown plants. My mother, you give her a good green plant, in 30 days you're going to come and find brown plants. I don't know what. She does not have a green thumb at all. She got a brown thumb. But if you got a pretty decent green thumb, do you know that you can plant garlic? You can plant garlic, piece of cake to grow. Then you can, once you harvest that garlic, you can put it in a dehydrator and dehydrate it, and then it'll become dry, and you make your own garlic powder. And the better quality of seed you can get and plant and grow, and The more nutrients you put into the soil, the better product you will have. So when you go and you grind that garlic to a powder, you can sell it for top dollar, not the $3.99 garlic you're buying in the Pathmark or the Stop and Shop or whatever they have around here, the Seatown. That's crap. But you will never know it until you get some good quality stuff. That's how easy it is to be a merchant. Everything is about dehydration, right? So what else could you possibly go and dehydrate and then get into a merchandising venue? I mean, it's so easy. It's not difficult at all. It's just something to think about. So, I forgot how I even got to talking about that. Commerce. Thank you. Commerce, right? So you got people, I want to engage in commerce, got zero merchandise. So what's the commerce? Wrong answer. No. But we're going to talk about that tonight because you know what? This is a setup that's been going on for a very long time. And we have to understand what this game is about. Now, I'll tell you this. If you ain't studying, you will be a victim. Just that simple. If you ain't studying, for you. I remember back in my Amway days, they had some excellent books, right? And I would read these books, how to self-talk books, you know, how to win friends and influence people, and books about you, reflecting on you. And I would read these books, and I'd be like, that's so-and-so right there. That's so-and-so right there. Never did I read it for me. So one day I realized, wait a minute, I'm reading this for everybody but myself. I can't do nothing for everybody else. Much as I love every last one of you in here and listening, much as I love you, I can't do nothing for you because you're not a computer. I can't take the chip out my head and put it in your head, and now you know everything I know, and you're going to do the logical steps to do whatever I do. I can't. We're not like that. So I have to read for myself. And I'm trusting that you will read for you. All right? So the name of the game here is, it's not a game, but it is. Generation of income / revenue. Right? That's the name of the game. So, I've been studying, and I have asked this question in the Constitution: what and where is the United States? Right? Because it says that when you read the preamble, the preamble sets the tone. It tells you who the players are, or so I thought. Until I started, because I can go and I can find who is the United States of America. What is that? Can I substantiate? Because, see, this is all about law. In law, you must have verifiable documentation to substantiate what you're saying. Charged with what? Slander. Yeah, exactly. So you must have verifiable documentation. I can substantiate who the United States of America Republic is, and when they started, and who started them. I can even substantiate who bankrolled them. All right? I can even substantiate that they never paid the loan back, which is why in 1933, you got Resolution 75, which gave us back our noble titles. But everybody thinks it's just a name. It's not just a name. It's a lot more than that. It's a whole lot more than that. That's another lesson I'm not even going to tell you tonight. But if you pull Resolution 75 and you look up every single word in that resolution and you do the etymology of every single word in Resolution 75, you will begin to get an idea of what was returned in 1933, because it wasn't just a name. Islam, that's another lesson. But let's move on. So I'm asking, what is this United States? I've been on the hunt, went through the congressional records. What's that you got? Huh? Oh, that's another lesson. It's a private lesson. But I'm like, what is this United States? Where is it? When did they get founded? How can I substantiate it? I'm looking. I find nothing. Roz and I, we get into discussions. We're having a discussion, and she's telling me, this is what it is. And it is from a spiritual perspective. But we're not talking spiritual. We're talking literal law, documentation. Where is it? What is it? I'm looking. I didn't find nothing. I consulted with some other people. Many of them didn't even understand my question. But they eventually got around to giving me some information, but it didn't work. It still didn't tell me what the hell is the United States and where is it? All right? Where is it and what is it or who is it and when did it begin and how can I substantiate that? What? It took me a minute. I would research, and one night I went to sleep, and when I woke up in the morning, I remember the conversation that I had with Roz, and then it dawned on me. I said, what if the preamble is missing a comma? Comma is very powerful in a sentence. It said, we the people of the United States. So I wrote it out. We the people of the United States. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, where could a comma go? We the people could be a comma there of the United States. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, what if a comma went here? We're the people of the United, comma, States. And I'm looking, I swear to God, I went to sleep because my brain was taxed. And so was my energy because I've been on the hunt. And I woke up and I said, we the people of the United States. The states, united. We, the people of the United States, what are they talking about? The states that are united. Who and what? I hope I have it in here because I'm telling you, I ran out of paper printing this stuff. I had a half a case of paper, and I ran out of paper printing this stuff. So I'm hoping and praying that I will put it in here. If not, I'm going to have to go to okay, it's not in here. So let me put that down. Let's see. Is it? Yeah. On the website, there is a letter. We call it the J. Adams letter, right? It's on where is it on the website? The J. Adams letter. We call it the J. Adams letter because this is in 1780. All right? This letter is in 1780, and it's talking about, remember, the Declaration of Independence was signed. Where did I just put that marker? The Declaration of Independence, right, was signed in 1776, right? Well, guess what? This letter is 1780, and still there is no acknowledgement that Great Britain granted or released them from their slavery, because that's what it's about. The modern Europeans is over here working as slaves. I can substantiate that. I can substantiate it. I'm going to read a little bit of it. All right? So now I'm like, it's like 3 pages, but the last page is, it's called Copy of M. Dodiber Talley's Appointment. It's on the website. It's on the RVBey Publications website. And it says here, this is from the Emperor of Morocco, and this is 1779 Christian calendar year, which is really 1193. Yeah? I believe the emperor is of a higher rank than the sultan, but don't quote me. Gonna have to research that one. All right, so here we have a letter from the Emperor of Morocco. All right. Now, what we're looking for is, what is this United States that's spoken of in the Constitution? Who is it? What is it? Where are they? And then we look at it and we see, wait a minute, maybe it's the States United, which would be very impacting, right? Because now you have, well, I'm going to try and go there sequentially, all right? So in this letter, this is what is written in the Congressional Records. By the way, this comes out of the Congressional Records, all right? It says, we make known by this our present and generous writing that we have appointed the Christian Dodiber Talley, who is the bearer hereof, to officiate as consul for all nations who have no consul, our dominion, and who are Empire of Germany, Russia, Prussia, Naples, Sardinia, Rome, Tuscany, the States of America, Genoa, Ragusa, Hamburg, Lubeck, and Danzig, all of whom may come into our ports, and each of them their traffic under the flag of his nation, such as it may be. It goes on and on and on, right? But what does this let you know? It lets you know that the Empire of Germany, Russia, Prussia, Naples, Sardinia, Rome, Tuscany, and the States of America is a part of the dominion of the Emperor of Morocco. 1776 Christian calendar, 1779, Christian calendar, 1193 Moorish calendar. Right? Now this Declaration of Independence, 1776, was signed, hasn't been acknowledged in 1779. All right? So the United States of America isn't official yet. The United States of America is not official yet. So the States of America cannot be referring to the United States of America yet, because it hasn't really been acknowledged. All right? That's it, right? So I said, let me go and investigate this word, dominion, in the Blacksburg Dictionary. I might be missing some information. So I go and I pull it up. Dominion, Black Law Dictionary. Absolutely powerful. It says ownership. 4th edition, always 4th edition. right? So, dominion in the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary says ownership. Definition of dominion is ownership. So the Emperor of Morocco owned the Empire of Germany, Russia, Prussia, Naples, Sardinia, Rome, Tuscany, and the States of America, Genoa, Ragusa, Hamburg, Lubeck, and Danzig. So I said, could these states of America be the States United that is referred to as the United States that gave dominion and bankrolled the United States of America? Who might these people be? I went to Abdullah. How many people check out Abdullah Mosley Talib Bey, Mosley El Talib Bey? He has done a few discussions here, and one of the things that he brought to the table, threw on the table, I mean just bam, threw it on the table, was the Organization of American States. Remember? Did you listen? Abdullah Mosley El Talib Bey is our etymology aficionado. And he comes here every 4th of the month. One of those Wednesdays, he talked about the Organization of American States. Now, what was amazing about the Organization of American States is New York, New Jersey, California, Florida, none of these are listed as American states. So, this can't be the States United that they're talking about here. So this is my hypothesis. I haven't done the research yet to find out when they were, what were their, I have the list of them, but it doesn't. But in 1779, Christian calendar year, what would have been, which one of these would have been an established American state? Because we have Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, United States, which is an oxymoron if we're talking about the States United, right? Uruguay, Venezuela, and then later expanded to include Barbados in 67, Trinidad and Tobago 67, Jamaica 69, Grenada 75, Suriname 77, Dominica 79, St. Lucia 79, Antigua Barbuda 81, St. Vincent and Grenadines 81, Bahama 82, St. Kitts and Nevis 88, Canada 90, Belize 91, Guyana 91. So these are all American states. No, Christian calendar years. All right? But clearly, these states united was here prior to 1967, right? So I have to go and do some research to see when were these when were these established? Because just looking at this, what does this tell you? What is the hypothesis that you might be roaming around in your brain when you look at these are owned dominions of the Emperor of Morocco? What is the hypothesis that might be floating around in your brain? Is it a landmass? Yes, but of these United States, is it a landmass?
Interesting because the convention in Madrid happens to be a state too, and everyone in the party you mentioned.
Well, we're going to get to that. Anybody else? The hypothesis that might be floating around in your brain when you look and you see that these are owned by the Emperor of Morocco. What is that? What is that? What is that? Can you live in a territory? Really? Because you have to look at the definition of territory. And even domicile is not talking about landmass. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Can you own a nation? Can you own the land? No. You cannot own the land. That's right. That's right. And land, dirt, soil is inheritance, cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. So what are we talking about when we see that the Emperor of Morocco owned these states united? No, I'm not. Landmass, what else could it be?
Farmer?
No. If it's not land mass, what else can it be? What is New York City? It is? New York City is a state? What is New York City? Say it again. What's the last word? What is the key word in that sentence? Corporation. Can a corporation be owned? Can land be owned? So what might this be implying? He owns various corporations. Yes, exactly. So I went and looked up the Organization of American States. Now, my intent was to get their charter from 1948 and read it, because I wanted to see what their charter really was all about. So I Googled, this is from United States Department of State. This is really United States of America, Department of State, right? Because let me tell you, look at the enormity of this, all right? This is in the American Constitution, right? The Constitution. And the American Constitution was written in 1789, and it went into force 1791. But before we can get to an American Constitution, there had to be a treaty of peace and friendship, right? But since the United States of America is new, a new construct, right? Because there is a treaty with Great Britain and Morocco. So in order for the United States of America to stay here and engage in commerce, there had to be a treaty. All right? And that would be your Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Peace and friendship. Well, they don't need to, because that's all that has to happen is you need to know about it. Now, this took place in what year? 1786. And went into force 1787. Because you can't get to this without first having this. But guess what? You can't get to this without a change of allegiance Declaration of Independence. This is very key. Can't get to talk about the treaty until you change allegiance, which is what happened in 1776. Who are the slaves? No, baby. We were never the slaves. We were never the slaves. And if I can get through this in time, I'm going to read you some of this, all right? Because it tells you we was never the slaves, baby. We were the master agriculture people. We were masters, all right? They didn't have to train us, that's why. And they couldn't just snatch us off the street. They had to pay for us. And they had to pay big bucks for us. And because we came with the knowledge of agriculture, we were prized. We were taken very well care of. Unlike the modern Europeans who simply couldn't grasp the concept of agriculture. They would give it to them, and they would forget it. Right in this book, they talk about how they had on-the-job training for modern Europeans who still couldn't grasp it. So they were of no use. But that was what was going on here for a very long time. We got in the mix much later. So anyway, I'm going to talk about that if we get through with this. So we have the Organization of American States, right? And I find this in the United States of America, Department of State, right? Before I get into that, this right here is most impacting. You know why? Because every time Trump, Obama, any one of these employees of the United States of America talk, they always say the United States or U.S. What the hell is that? It's not the United States they're talking about here. You know why? Because the states united here, possibly according to the Organization of American States, would be Argentina, Bolivia, and I know Bolivia's on the map because I got some Bolivia bullion. All right? Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica. So we got to do some research and find out when these corporations come into play. And, you know, always, the United States of America always got an ongoing vendetta with Cuba, right? We got the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador. Look at the names. Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, and more. We got Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Venezuela. All right, so these would be the United States, the states that are united enough to underwrite the bringing in of the United States of America, because they all wasn't united. All of them were not united to bring in the modern Europeans under the construct of the United States of America. That's why Congress adjourned in Sundia in 1861, because this group, possibly, of some combination, further splintered out and said, bump it. Half of the Congress said, we got to assist them. The other half said, kill them all. So it started a further split. All right? So when these employees of the United States of America be talking about the United States, they are making a presumption of talking on behalf of Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Mexico, Honduras, Haiti, on and on and on and on. That is a presumption, and a huge one, huge error. The only reason reason they do that is because they know we don't study. We don't study because we should have picked this up a long time ago. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this. The so-called Muslims that he's talking about, and let me not rephrase that because, see, Muslims really are fetus.
You said Mexican first.
Yes.
Well,
the Mexicans are Americans. Let me tell you something. I was having a conversation with somebody today on my way here, and they work in the passport department, and it was hilarious. I had to bite my tongue because our people, look, our challenge is not with modern Europeans. Trump is no threat to any Asiatic. No pale-skinned, fork-tongued, modern European albion is a threat to any one of us. Our problem is our own people. They have been given a piece of paper. They said, this is your job. And for this job, we're going to give you $50,000. I want you to enforce it. Now, you do a good job. I'll give you a $20,000 increase in 10 years. But they do that, right? It's going to be spread over 10 years, but you have 10 years, you're going to have $60,000 salary if you do your job good, right? So now if you're working in the passport department, you're going to be on the lookout. I'm looking for these Americans. I'd be submitting a passport application to travel on their own goddamn land. And then our people is, oh, I found some fraud. I'm going to get a $50,000 bonus because I found some fraud. I tell you, I had this conversation today. He was excited. Oh, I found some fraud. With the face recognition software, I was able to find that this woman from American soil, born on American soil, tried to submit a passport and say she was a U.S. citizen so she can come and go without problems. On her own land. They're doing the same thing to the Mexicans, so-called Mexicans, because what is Mexico?
Can I say it right here? Interjection. As far as the true Amexem, that's our family that actually knows and that will not be accepting the propaganda that everybody does accept because we don't know. They already made their point. It's a sign. Whenever you're doing, I'm going to read to you, whenever you're doing the protest back when Obama was in it, they put up 3 contradictions that says right on the site front page. If you think I'm illegal because I'm a Mexican, learn the true history because I am in my own land. Now, until Negro, those who call themselves Negro, colored, and black get the same thing and don't have to apply for that, it's not, like you said, it's us.
It's us.
And we come in that like we don't know there's no revenue generator. What is it?
What is the game? The game gets deeper. Trust me. This game is deep.
So that statement that Ben Carson made about volunteer immigrants.
Immigrants to what? Volunteer immigrants to what? Here?
Volunteer slaves.
No, well, first of all, you got to know, let me give you a little bit of something out of this book. Let's talk about that word slave, all right? Because, yes, I know, baby. Let me read this to you. This is out of White Slavery in Colonial America and Other Documented Facts Suppressed from the Public. No. Author is D. Masterson, all right? You can look at it when it's done. All right, that's what she wrote. First subject, slave. The word slave has the etymological root, Slav, derived from the word Slavic. Yes, these are actual people. In 900 CE, the Slavic people were the first Europeans to be exploited in a slave capacity with all the trimmings. Today, the Slavic peoples are classified into West Slavic, i.e. Czechs, Kashubians, Moravians, and Poles, Cilicians, Slavaks, Swords, East Slavic, Belarusian, Russians, Rusins, Ukrainians, and South Slavic, Bosniaks, Bulgarians, Croats, Macedonians, Mantis, Negrins, Serbs, and Slovenists. Technically, the very essence or spirit of the word slave is white only. During a period of purposely perpetrated ignorance known as the Middle Ages, a 1,000-year period that began around 400 CE, the common folk, European majority, were purposely kept uneducated and ignorant. In addition, religious knowledge was encrypted in the Holy Bible written in Latin, a privileged language that only religious authorities learned and people of royalty could afford to learn. And what is the first rule in maintaining slaves or even controlling the masses? At all costs, keep them ignorant. How many of us have heard that imposed on us? This didn't originate with us. It originated by us on them. In 962 CE, a fellow who called himself Otto the Great, initially the king of Germany and later simultaneously the king of Italy, as well as a very effective military leader, founded the Holy Roman Empire, that's us. Not to be confused with its predecessor, the Roman Empire, that's them. Anyway, he encouraged expansion, colonization, and missionary work into the Slavic territories west. Long story short, the defenseless Slavic people were gradually exploited for manual labor and servitude. But don't get me wrong, as far as the Slavics' own self-designation goes, its meaning is understandably better than that of a slave. Their name comes from the Indo-European root kleu, K-L-E-U, which basically means to hear, and occurs in many derivatives meaning renown and fame. It is only the external designation from outside influences stemming from the unfortunate circumstances in which the 9th century Slavics found themselves that associate their name with the fact that they were the property of others, bought, sold, chained, whipped, beat, lynched, and spent all their natural life in bondage. Now, that's your slave. That's not you. All right? They talking about what? 9th century. 9th century, we were not the slaves. We were the owners of slaves. That's not us. That's them. All right? So, the British Moors. The British Moors. Yes. So now when this United States, whenever the modern Europeans talk about United States, it's going to have a whole different meaning now, because now you know who the States United is, and it damn sure enough ain't the United States of America employees. All right? Not one of them. All right? So, I was reading this. Where's my page? And a little bit of history on the Organization of American States. Before it was the Organization of American States, it was called the Pan-American Union, 1910. This is the organization that sponsors the Pan-American Conference that Prophet Noble Ali went to. That don't make you Pan-American or Pan-African. It's a freaking organization, all right? So prior to that, it was called, are you ready for this? In 1890, the International Union of American Republics. That lets you know that anybody who is a member of the American States today got to be a republic. That is the foundation of the Organization of American States. So they can sit there all day long and talk about a democracy this and a democracy that, but in order for you to be a member, you have to be a republic. So I said, wow, this is amazing. Look at this, right under our nose. How come we didn't find this? So I started, right, this is why you have got to do your own research. Do not depend on these institutions allegedly called schools, which basically means that you don't know jack. You went in to be what? A revenue generator, and that's what you were for 12 years. They didn't give a crap about what you learned or didn't learn, because as long as you were sitting in that seat, you was bringing in what? Revenue. The name of the game is generation of income and revenue. But this gets deeper. So I remember years ago, before I even came into this information, I read about Ethiopia. How many people know a little bit about Ethiopia? Correct. Well, I know about Ethiopia because Ethiopia was a member of the League of Nations. The League of Nations. And the League of Nations was instrumental in Ethiopia being able to win the war against Mussolini. Lost, but they won with just determination. So I went and I looked up the League of Nations. Now, what I also, this years ago, I know that the League of Nations, let me think. The League of Nations, right, was dissolved. This is the word used. Dissolved in 1946. Said dissolved. Dissolved. Now, when you see that word dissolved, they're talking about a corporation. The League of Nations is a corporation. All right? It was dissolved. Now, the United Nations came on the scene, United Nations, in 1945 to replace the League of Nations. So as you can see, there was a year where they overlapped. My question was, why was there a need for the United Nations to take over the League of Nations, and for the League of Nations to be dissolved? Because the League of Nations, on appearance, was correct. It represented the sovereigns of the land. No, we weren't even privy to all of this that was going on. This was going on over our heads, all right? We were not privy to this at all. So what I found out, because I went looking, well, why would the League of Nations have been dissolved? Now, I want to backtrack a little bit because I did miss something, and I apologize, and I'm hoping I got it in here. Is this it? Is it? One of the things that I did, because somebody told me about, I don't have it. Anyway, I've been meaning for years to read the resealed Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836. How many people have read it? Yes, because, see, this treaty right here, it was good for 50 years. Now, let's take out our calculators, and let's put in 1787 plus 50. Brings us to 1837, right? But now in 1837, if they were going to make any changes to the treaty, they had to petition it or bring it in 4 years before this. So that would have brought us to what? 1833. Now, I went through and I looked at the resealed Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836, because this was resealed in 1836. And I'm hoping you can follow along here, because this is deep. In 1836, and I'm sure I have it on my phone. I'm praying I do. I went through line by line and read that resealed Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And the only portion of it that is different is Article 25. And Article 25, it reads, oh God, I want to get the exact language. Well, it's actually, I believe, a little deeper than that. Let me see, is this it? No, it's not. Come on. The 86, is this it? No. All right. Treaty of 1836. Because I want to read it, because the last line of it is really telling, and I have downloaded it onto my phone, and I think I moved it somewhere else. But let me just try, and I hate to paraphrase. No. I hate to, but, well, basically, one of the significant things of the 1836 treaty, 1836, is that they most definitely reference the United States of America, right, entering into a treaty with the Emperor of Morocco. So don't tell me you don't know who we are. But this is deep. This is the Emperor of Morocco is the head of the Moroccan or Moorish Empire. Now, in this letter to J. Adams, we find that the Empire of Germany is a corporation. It's like a big conglomerate, right? But the Emperor of Morocco is the owner of all of this. We can substantiate this. Remember, law is about substantiating, right? We can substantiate it because we got the congressional record. Also, in the 1836 treaty, it says if the one decides to dissolve the treaty, they can do so at the end of 50 years, right? So the treaty was resealed 1836, right? What happens 50 years later? That's why you got to be studying, man, let me tell you. Studying. 50 years later brings us to 1886. Now, I know many of you probably don't know what is significant about 1886. 1886, 50 years after 1836, brings us to 1886. But it was resealed prior to that in another treaty that was sealed in 1880. What is it? There you go, baby. The Madrid Convention, which talks about rights of protection in Morocco. All right? Now, what happens 50 years later? 1880 plus 50 brings us to what? 1930. What happened around 1930? 1933. What caused the bankruptcy? Oh, honey, that's what they tell you. That is the cover story. See, because I want to say in the 1836, this is why I really wanted to see it, but in the 1836 treaty, it tells you about the monies that changed hands. 1836, the monies that changed hands. The monies that changed hands. All right? So these modern Europeans, they were given the land. They not given. They were given the right. They were, prior to this date right here, they were given the right through charters, grants, mortgages, and charge grants, mortgages, what's the other one? Charge grants. Patents. Thank you. Patents to engage in sort of agriculture in order to pay back the loan. The loan wasn't paid back. And that's why in 1933 we have Resolution 75, which gives you back the title to the land, which subsequently resulted in 1933 bankruptcy. And that's why they try to keep every last one of you Negro, colored, black, so you are not a lineal descendant, so they can come and do what? Try to invoke the revenue generator on you, but you can't pay it back. You can't ever pay them because they owe us.
And wait, hold it. And then we got some of our boys talking about we need to be citizens of that. You got us.
That means if you're a citizen of the USA, United States of America, Republic, whatever, that means you owe us. You ain't a part of the family. No, you can't. No, you can't. You can become a member, but you can't never change your nationality. Yes. Wait a minute, is this?
Yeah, that's 1833.
25.
That's Article 4.
Yes. This treaty shall continue in force with the help of God for 50 years, after the expiration of which the treaty shall continue to be binding on both parties until the one shall give 12 months' notice to the other of an intention to abandon it, in which case its operation shall cease at the end of the 12th month. Bankruptcy. Bankruptcy. That's it, right there. Now, let me tell you what they started to play around this time frame, because they're broke. Then they are on a madcap rush to make all the Aboriginal indigenous people of planet Earth go into a sleep, like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, put you into a deep sleep, in order for them to put you in a deep sleep so that they can continue to use you to generate revenue, because somebody, anybody, tell me what product or service every single corporation of the United States of America, what product or service do they provide? Now remember, before you start talking about, well, you know, they made this cell phone. Did they come over here with the resources on their back? Because last time I checked, they were slaves and got jacked. And by the grace of the Moors, did they even come out of that slavery status to be sitting in the freaking, Casablanca or Blanca Casa, talking about they the president, they speaking on behalf of the United States. What? This is where you come from. This is where you come from. You are slaves. It is only by the grace of our ancestors that you are sitting where you are today. If we didn't intervene, our cousins, the British Moors, would have yanked your asses right back to Great Britain. Would have come over here and scooped you, what do you call it, subordinate slave, up and taking you back to where you came from. Stop tripping. But I'm not saying that to be mean and vindictive. I'm just saying that everybody needs to know the true history. Everybody needs to know what is what, and who is who, or who is who, and what is what. And I'm not saying that all these modern Europeans need to get off of our ancestral estate. I'm just saying, don't be trying to rob me of my birthright and think that you're going to blow smoke up my behind. Not happening. Not happening. I am awake, and I am diligently trying to hold the energy. I'm not trying to talk this. I'm sharing this with you because I discovered it. All right? But if I never said a word to any of you, the fact that I got this information, it elevated my energy, I am participating in holding the energy, because it's all about energy. It's not about flapping the mouth. It's not about being seen. It's not about C and be seen. It's about holding the energy for the next generation. Because if all of us would just focus on fixing ourselves, if all of us in here individually keep your damn mouth shut, don't look at left or right, and just stay focused within yourself with raising your energy. If you never leave your house and you stay in that house and you harness that energy, it would make a connection all across the land that would lift up this planet and raise it to where it's supposed to be. It's not about the flapping of the gums. It's not. It's not about being seen and, all that mess. So, I'm looking at this. Oh, let me see. And I read that, and let me see, what else? So, I go and I do some Googling. Now, I'm telling you, don't sleep on, what is this thing called? Wikipedia, because they be giving you some clues. Don't sleep on Wikipedia, right? So, I go and I look in the League of Nations. I'm talking about the League of Nations. Now, the League of Nations, this is so deep, I'm going to tell you. Because, see, years ago, without me even realizing it, the Moorish information was brought to me. I know all about, see, back, the Moorish nation, Moorish or Moroccan, okay, empire. We are not talking about no kingdoms here. Kingdoms are subordinate to empires, all right? And so I don't want to hear nobody talking about, the Kingdom of Morocco. The Kingdom of Morocco is a corporation that was established in 1956. That's documented, verifiable. This is going on in 1700s, the 1700s, all right? So now, prior to it, after it being called the Moroccan Empire, we've had many names now. We have the wonderful Ottoman Empire, which is the Moorish Empire, Turkish Empire, which is the Moorish Empire, all right? That we have had so many names, but we are still the same people. How many people in here got the same, what they call last name? How many? Probably none of us, but we're the same people, one family, all right? So the League of Nations, I went and I Googled the League of Nations, and it talks about the Paris Peace Conference of 1919. Now, what is significant about 1919? The League of Nations came into being in 1919. It was the first No, it was the last. It was the last. It was the nail in our coffin, so to speak. People like to reference 1493. 1493 was the second nail. No, that's when I'm going to show you where that nail comes from. This is the third nail, or the second and a half nail. The League of Nations was established in 1919, and it was established to end World War I. What was World War I about? Who were the players of World War I? Anybody know? Really? Germany? But what is Germany? What is Germany? Let's look. Where's that letter? All right, because see, now it says in here that the Paris Peace Conference was established. It's out of the Paris Peace Conference that the League of Nations came about, and that was to divvy up the spoils of the war. The spoils of war. Which one? This is the only time that they talk about us. The Ottoman Empire, World War I, was about the dissolution. This was the language they used, of the Ottoman Empire. Did you hear what I said? Dissolution. That word means that a corporation was just dissolved. Dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. Where'd it go? It was absorbed between Great Britain and France, and today it is referred to as the Middle East. You got to know the history. I'm not mad. You got to know the history. The Paris Peace Conference was the second nail in the coffin, right? Because prior to this, you have Elizabeth. But you got to know the history of the Ottoman Empire. How many people remember me telling them you got to watch this series called The Magnificent Century? I've been telling you got to watch The Magnificent Century. It was on Netflix, and I was like, what is this? And I started watching it. And as I watched it, it talks about Suleiman the Magnificent. Suleiman the Magnificent was a Moor. He was the last ruler of the Moorish Empire. All right? I'm listening. I'm like, I know this story because I read it years ago. Like I said to you, I was guided to the Moorish information. I read all about the Ottoman Empire. I know about Suleiman, and I know about that Russian modern European that he went and laid down with. Khurram orchestrated the murder of his legitimate heir, Mustafa, so that her son would become the Sultan of the Turkish Empire. Murad the third is her offspring. Murad the third enters into negotiation with Elizabeth the First, who is a modern European, bastard of Henry VIII, who sat on the seat in the more noble seat of the brutish Moors. She entered into the negotiation with her cousin, for real, because Murad is a modern European sitting in the noble seat. Elizabeth is a modern European sitting in the noble seat, right? They entered into, that's the second infiltration. Actually, that's the third infiltration. What was the second? The second infiltration was Pope Alexander VI. He's a modern European that's the bastard that put out the bull saying that the Moors will no longer be called Moors and they will be known as Spaniards.
And the Intica Divina.
And he authored the Intica Divina. So when I be telling y'all that who you be lying down and the offsprings you're claiming is absolutely significant, it ain't no joke, because these three are the ones that helped to bring down the Moorish Empire, and they're modern Europeans, and the only reason they got in that seat was because these modern Europeans got in, and our sons claimed their children, and they took us down from within. From within. And World War II was the final nail in the coffin, because after World War II, everything had been infiltrated. Everything. Everywhere you go on planet Earth today that is originally Aboriginal indigenous is the people sitting in the seat is modern Europeans talking about our ancestors.
Wasn't about Germany.
All wars is about finalizing the removal of the Aboriginal indigenous people wherever they may be on planet Earth.
To this day.
To this day. You notice there ain't been no more wars since World War II. Wasn't necessary. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. So now what does all of this mean? What does all of this mean? I'm going to tell you what it means. Once these modern Europeans got in the seat, they turned around and they did to us what we did to them. We became property of corporations near and far. Today, you got people talking about you can't travel to Guatemala, which is a corporation, unless you get permission or pass from a foreigner to travel on your own land. Why? Because you don't know who the hell you are.
And can you add to it this point that this is why this whole travel ban thing is only, this is why people over there and all right, this is why people hear us and people from anywhere else, if they're not talking national, that's why when Trump said first about the ban, it's like, oh, hold the bus. Because other nationals know they have no authority or jurisdiction to infringe upon travel of nationals. So if you say I'm going to the USA, they got to say to you, well, no, that's our corporation. It doesn't exist. But if you say you're going to a corporation, or if you say you're going to a corporation, which, you know, is slated down in South America, or what we know is South America, then you're in error. But saying that you're traveling to a corporation. So you have to talk national principles. And first you got to be a national and have national principles in order to do that. And then once we collectively do that, so whatever extensions he made, it only applies to those who are just as fiction as we have been here. Because people are members of his thing, because they keep calling themselves that. And he tell them, it only applies to those who are members of the corporation. That's it.
Now let me ask you this. Now, we got our brethren near the corporation known as Mexico, right? And they're fighting. They're fighting to travel freely. They're fighting to exercise their God-given rights. Inalienable rights. They're fighting for it. Who are they fighting? Foreigners, colonizers, all right? And then see, what happens is these you know why they get to do this? Because we are a family divided. You got people who work, like last night, I kind of touched on this Khalif router story, which was so heart-wrenching. How much, I didn't see the video, but y'all can just tell me yes or no, how many of those other prisoners were his family that participated in beating him up, whether they were prisoners or employees? How many of them? How many of them were modern? How many of them were unconscious Moors? How many of them? What's crazy is you have a complex called a prison. The majority of the people in the prison is us. The minority of a prison is the employees. Now, why is it that we find ourselves locked in prisons with inhumane conditions? Not that I'm saying, oh, I don't mind staying there if you upgrade the living conditions, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, why are we even there? Why is it happening? The vast majority of prisons, the people in there double and triple the employees. How can it happen? There are more Asiatic people than there are modern Europeans. But the people that's in the prisons working are Asiatic. They are condoning the behavior. They're participating in the behavior. So our problem is not the modern Europeans because we outnumber them. Our problem is the family disunity. Because you could never hold 1 million or 300,000 Asiatic testosterone rich boys, men, sons, in any compound. It's not possible unless you get them fighting each other. As long as they're fighting each other, they contain each other. And that's, like I said, I was traveling down here, had a conversation, and this brother says to me, I found some fraud. I found a fraudulent application for a U.S. passport. Well, why does she need a passport? She's American. Where'd she come from? Guatemala. Well, that's America. So now here's what the passport thing is saying. Unless you agree to be a member of the unless you agree to be a U.S. citizen, which I don't know what the hell that is, all right? But whatever it is, it falls under the United States of America because it can't be talking about the States United because then that has Guatemala here. So what's her problem? What's her problem? This is an issue of people's right to contract. The Clearview Doctrine says that when government lowers itself to behave like a corporation, meaning they're demanding income from you, then you can treat them just like a corporation, which means I don't have to get a goddamn passport from any of your contractors because I choose not to contract. And it's my right to contract with whom I want to and where I want to, and you can't. You can't take my unalienable and inalienable liberties away from me because I choose not to. I don't give a shit what it is because that's not true. Because in order for that paper to be valid, the laws of contract have to be obeyed. And they did not disclose to you that by signing it, you were voluntarily denationalizing yourself. So it's void ab initio. It's void. So we so busy, I just don't want no problems. I just want to go to Aruba and get my hair did and sit in the sun and have my little cocktail. I just want to get there because I had a hard day. crazy. And then I'm sitting up in a hotel where not a penny is going to the Aboriginal indigenous people of the land. I'm eating food that don't even come from the land. It comes from a ship right off the coast. But the impression is, oh, it fell off the tree where I'm sitting. No, it didn't. It fell off a boat. That's right there. You can see it. We are so tripped out. Oh, my God. I mean, the things that we are doing is ridiculous. We have successfully traded places with the modern Europeans. Because I'm telling you, these reality shows, everybody want to be like the slutty Kardashians. We got beautiful, magnificent Asiatic sisters acting like slutty modern Europeans because they want to get a paycheck. What? They're no different than the prison guard. They're no different than the person that's pushing the passport application. I got to pay my mortgage, man. I got to make them sign this application. All of them are corporations, but the name of the game is generation of income, generation of revenue. And so all of these corporations, even these now, because they all been compromised. If you don't believe me, watch Zeitgeist 2. They show you how they tried to take out, what's his name? Chavez. And it was not successful. They tried to take out Castro, and it was not successful. They show you the plan. So whenever you hear, oh, a plane went down, that was a takeout. Whenever you hear, oh, there was this unusual car crash and some person of some country is dead, that was a takeout. When you hear that somebody who ain't never been sick all of a sudden dies of AIDS or cancer, that was a takeout. Right? Look at JFK, all right? JFK was one of their own. Look what they did to him. Because it doesn't matter, but when you mess with their money, they lose their foolish minds. All right? And let me tell you the problem we as a people have. You got the internet, beautiful thing. It's got a lot of great information. The problem with the internet is Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, what's the others? Instagram, Snapchat. Our people don't know when to shut up. Give you an A to B plan of freedom and you on the goddamn Facebook? Come on. But you got it going on like that. That's our problem. We are all worse than me. We don't know when to shut. That's why if you go back to our ancestors, when we became enslaved, all right, they started giving you information in code. Because even if your stupid ass told it, you didn't have the keys to decode it. I guess we got to go back to doing that. We got to go back to doing that. You know what? I love Aretha Franklin, but I had to stop listening to Aretha Franklin. She got this gospel album that, oh my God, when I listened to it, it would send chills up my spine. But I had to stop listening to it because I felt like she was groveling just a little too much. Until I got this information and I realized she had the keys. Because she said, she's saying, I love the Lord. Well, you got to know who the Lords are. The Lords of the universe. I love her too. I love the Lord. Yes, I do. Because I know who it is. And when she says God made a way, yes, God did. Because you're behind think right. And since man is mind, you manifested the right thing because you think right. I love the Lord too. I love God because I know who it is. And then when you decode Psalms 23 and you put some gospel music behind it, it has a whole new meaning. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Do you know who the Lords are? Do you know who the shepherds are? He maketh me to lie beside the still waters. Do you know what he's talking about? Do you know what the waters are? The waters could either be mama's womb or the waters could be your spiritual enlightenment. But you got to know the keys. Then the song don't sound like you're groveling.
And it's also he maketh me lie down in green pastures.
Green pastures.
For your lessons on this earth, which is temporary.
That's right.
And
green pastures.
Right.
So what is the green pasture? What does it represent?
And herbs.
You're supposed to be stewards of the earth. These people run around saying, I want to trust. You don't even know how to be a steward. Because if you understood stewardship, you would understand trust. And you would probably also understand that you are not honoring the agreement that you made to your ancestors to be good stewards of the land. But if you're throwing trash on the land, if you're not planting seeds, if you are polluting Mother Earth, you can't talk to me about a trust. You can't talk to me about a trust because you are not a good steward. You're defiling the earth. And you got to understand the earth is a huge womb. She gets pissed off. She will vomit your behind back up. Right? So what are we talking about? Honoring Mother. Honoring Mother is just not about honoring your biological mother. Honoring Mother is honoring Mother across the board. That's the earth, that's your sister, that's your mother, that's your mate, that's your aunt. Doesn't matter who it is. If she got a womb, you're supposed to honor her because that is a part of being a good steward. And that ain't just for the sons, it's for the sisters too. Sisters, oh, she thinks her shit don't stink. Look at her walking like that. Oh, look at where did she get that from? And all of this foolishness, and they're taking us out. Well, we are taking each other out. They don't look. This is their mindset. I done mentally programmed these Moors. All right? Now I can put them in charge of their own enslavement because I got to go and take my yearly trip. I got to go to my baby's graduation. I got to sit in their music recital. All right? I got to make sure that they have all the necessary information to manage the unconscious Moors. Make sure they don't never wake up. And by the looks of it, they never will. Because we are fighting each other. Talking about, oh, well, if you don't have a trust, if you don't have a 501c3, oh, if you don't have a financial statement, oh, well, if you ain't get, well, if you're exchanging Federal Reserve notes without a UCC, oh, if you don't have a trust, what are you talking about? Go back. Go back to our ancestors. Did they have a trust? Did they have a piece of paper? Was there even a UCC written down? Then they said, you can't use those UCC codes because it's copyrighted by the United States of America. Go to South America and say that shit. Go down there and say that and tell me what happens to the conscious ones down there. Because they will chew you up because they know, hey, you ain't going to come down here and try to mess up our flow. I'll take you out. They'll never find you ever again. Not a bone, not a pinky. Never. And that's why Trump keeps his behind on North American soil talking trash all day long. Go to Costa Rica. And he can do that because we need to take a page from our cousins of South and Central America and the islands, some of the islands, because all of the islands ain't right. All right, some of them. Like, you people, you need to check out the history of Haiti. Boy, that's telling you where you come from. Telling you about the blood that's in your vein. That's telling you what you need to go back to because we was the stuff back. We was the sugar, honey, iced tea when Haiti was kicking butt. But let's not sleep on Jamaica. They call it Jamaica because Jamaica was kicking butt. Jamaica kicked the British Moors' butt to the point where the British Moors said, well, you can have the mountains. We'll never come up there again. But we got the flatland. And they ain't been up in the mountains since. But Haiti got infiltrated because they got into the minds of the Aboriginal indigenous people and got them fighting each other to the point where you got grown men, much like here, raping babies. Now, what is the domino effect of a female, young female that has been raped? That means anything that comes out of her is going to be damaged. That's the legacy. We got to get rid of that. We got to do better. Got to turn this around. And turning it around does not mean getting on the subway tomorrow and annoying everybody you come in contact with. It means keep your behind home, shut the door, turn off the TV, the so-called music, turn off the cell phone, get away from some of those so-called families and friends, and go within yourself. Because there's a whole lot of house cleaning that needs to go on. Whole lot of house cleaning. Everybody is so concerned with splinters in everybody else's eyes, and they got a log in their own. And you don't have to do anything because this train is moving, and it is moving on. And if you don't believe me, read the prophecies and the statements. You better submit to the will of Allah and let those energies do what they will with you. Because if you fight it, you will be taken out. It's just a matter of time. Just like modern Europeans. Everybody's angry at modern Europeans. I'm looking at them and I'm like, why fight the inevitable? It is inevitable. The sun is moving closer to the earth, baby. What you gonna do? I got my spacesuit. What you gonna do? Okay, so you take over all of the land and then you can't live on it. But let me see what time it is. I might have a little bit of time. Oh, yes, 9:38. Let me read you a little bit of this. I think I covered everything. If I didn't, we'll be back next week. All right, so this is some more out of White Slavery in Colonial America, Dee Masterson. She breaks down serfdom. I know about the serfs, and when I hear people speak, I never, ever, ever thought that me or any of my ancestors were ever slaves. It was just, sometimes you come here knowing stuff. And I know we was never that. And then I knew about serfs because I have always been attracted to the history of Great Britain, Scotland, Ireland, and Byzantine and Constantinople, and the Ottoman Empire. And so I know about serfs. So let's read about the serfs. Chaos and invasion made the taking of slaves habitual throughout Europe in the early Middle Ages. For centuries, the town of Kampa in the Crimea, Ukraine, was called the capital of the medieval slave trade. Medieval? Medieval? Who knew about a medieval slave trade? Any of y'all? However, the slave trade in England was officially abolished in 1102 CE, and the feudalism quickly filled the void. In a nutshell, this idea consisted of unfree peasants, i.e., the lowest social class, serfs, who were forced to work the fields of landowners, i.e., the lords. That would be your noble Moors. The most unfortunate among them were forced to work in the coal mines as well. The serfs were legally bound to their lords. Ergo, the lord's estate or manor was often measured by how many serfs he owned. The word serf originated from the Middle French serf and can be traced further back to the Latin servus, meaning slave. But under the feudalism, the serf was more of a slave to the land that the lord owned. Under the law, the lord could not sell his serfs directly, but he could sell his land. And when he did, the serfs associated with that land went with it accordingly. The serfs would serve his new master. The slave serf had the fewest rights from the manor and were given the least. They owned no land, worked for the Lord exclusively, and survived on donations from the Lord, i.e. crumbs from the master's table. However, it was always in the best interest of the Lord to prove that a servile arrangement existed with their slaves. This provided greater rights to fees and taxes. In theory, this guaranteed protection to the serfs from the cruel landlords, but the harsh reality was often quite different. Slaves were beaten for any number of reasons. That's your serfs. Then we have villains. How many people have heard this word villains? V-I-L-L-E-I-N-S. A villain was the most common type of serf in the Middle Ages. Villains had more rights and status than those held as outright slaves, but at the same time had a number of legal restrictions that differentiated them from free men. Villains generally rented small homes from the lord of the manor, typically with a patch of land. As part of the contract with their landlord, villains were expected to use some of their time to farm the lord's fields. Like the serf, villains were tied to the land and could not move away without their lord's permission. However, in other regards, villains were free men in the eyes of the Lord. Villainage was more preferable to slave or vagabond. If things became intense enough for a villain to serve the relationship with his lordship, he could gain freedom by running away to a different city and living there for 1 year. At the same time, this decision meant the loss of his land and agricultural livelihood. Thus, it was typical for newly arrived villains to be to the big city to take to crime for survival. You've probably guessed by now the alternate spelling V-I-L-L-A-I-N and its modern-day definition and application. Feudalism 101. To get a good handle on medieval life under feudalism, think of it this way. The king owned all the land in the country. He typically kept 1/4 of the land as his personal property. About 1/10 of the land was given to the church, and the rest was leased out under strict rules and guidelines to the barons. Barons were the only ones permitted to lease land from the king. The land they leased was known as a manor. Ergo, the baron was also known as the lord of the manor and was in complete control of the land they leased. Barons established their own system of justice, minted their own money, and set their own taxes. In return, the barons had to serve on the royal council, pay rent, and provide the king with knights for the military service. Like the king, the barons kept as much of their land as they wished for their own use, then divided the rest among their knights. The knights were provided land by the barons in return for military service. They also had to protect the baron and his family, as well as the manor, from invading hordes. Like the barons, the knights kept as much of the land as they wished for their own personal use and distributed the rest to the villeins and serfs. The villeins were given land by the knights. In return, they provided free labor, food, and service upon demand. As mentioned earlier, the villeins were at the bottom of the social order and had no rights. They were not allowed to leave the manor and had to ask their lord's permission before they could marry. The villeins were dirt poor. How many people have heard this word trolls? Trolls is a spin-off of this next word, thralls. Thralls was the term used in Scandinavian culture to define slavery. The existence of thralls has been documented as far back as 98 CE by the Roman historian Tacitus. During the Scandinavian Viking era, 793 CE to 1066 CE, the state of being a thrall could be entered into either voluntarily based on personal circumstances or otherwise. A person voluntarily became a thrall by surrendering his freedom to avoid starvation or to pay off a debt. Involuntary thraldom was the result of having been captured by Viking hordes and systematically sold or having been born into a thrall family. However, the most common way of acquiring thralls was the capture of prisoners in foreign countries. Thralls were kept as livestock, and their master had the power of life and death over them. It was even common for a thrall to be used as a human sacrifice in the funeral of a Viking chief. And as you have probably guessed by now, the verb enthrall, i.e. to hold someone spellbound, is a linguistic remnant of the very ancient tradition of physically holding someone bound or in bondage. Interesting, right? That's all I'm going to read. Yep. Well, we have to remember they looked at them as, what was the word? No, what was the word they used? Livestock, right? So if you were to throw a chicken in the fire, it'd be no big deal, right? Well, it would have been a sort of type of ritual because they would remember back then, if you were like a king, no, not satanic, if you were a king of some sort, everything you owned was buried with you, including your servants. So they later probably termed it that because, you know, they're all about trading places, right? So I want to read one last thing. It's called Nabbing the Kid. Nabbing the Kid. As previously mentioned, white slavery was on one side driven by the poverty and greed that existed in 1600 Europe. For instance, in London, villains crowded the streets, and many would turn to a life of crime, i.e. stealing, pickpocketing, scamming, and when caught, they had to face harsh penalties, gallows, or indentured servants of the New World. The system was rigged against the poor majority. Sound familiar? Government transports loaded with villains would set sail for the colonies. A common misconception some historians make: villains, i.e. thieves and murderers, sometimes served their sentence as indentured servants in the New World, but it was actually villains. Another method was to get them while they're young. No child of a villain was safe from the poachers. Whenever a child was found roaming the streets alone, they would get nabbed and put aboard a slave transport to the colonies. The authorities often warned the public about kidnapping, i.e. the stealing of white children for enslavement. The origin of the word and practice still in use today, kidnap. So if you've ever wondered why some people today drive around in vans looking to snatch children, this is the reason. There is a market still. And on some note, there is still a hefty bounty awaiting those who deliver the transportees to the slave ships. Children get top dollar. No child of a villain or orphan back then was safe, and neither are they today. That's your child, so-called child protective services. Nabbing the children. Only the children are not white complexion. They're white in status. All right? So, let's see, what time do I have? One last thing. Yes? Generation of income. Corporation. Corporation, 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 corporation. Corporation, corporation, corporation. Infiltrated. Purpose. No product or service. To get the people to voluntarily join themselves to various corporations, thereby becoming property owned by corporations. How many of you have ever been on the radio, listened to the radio, and you hear people say, shout out to Los Angeles, shout out to Brooklyn, and they or shout out to what's another popular place? Atlanta, Atlanta, they go and get shirts and they brand themselves property of Atlanta. So now, when the little employees of the municipal corporations drive around the streets, they be looking, oh, that's one of ours, grab them. They have a shirt on that says Atlanta. This whole thing is about enslaving the people. Now they're saying, here's an excellent example. What's his name? RVBey, formerly known as Mos Def. They gave him a clue that he didn't pick up on. They said, you can't come back to South Africa for 5 years. Right? Right? He was never in South Africa. So he can go back as long as he know that he's going to the land, not the corporation. They try to demand from people documents, instruments that join you to all these corporations because they are bankrupt. They have no product, no service. They're the slaves. These non-Europeans were originally the slaves that was forced over here on the slave ship, right? So what did they bring? What did they own? So what product and service are they providing? Where did it come from? We pick up stuff that says made in China. That's a corporation. It says made in Taiwan. Nothing, and whatever is made here is a piece of crap. I mean, I'm just saying, because they don't have the expertise that our family has. And we don't have it either. I mean, it's in us. It's locked in our DNA, but we don't remember it. And we can bring it up if we would shut up and go within ourselves. You know, start small. So buy a plant that can produce something and learn a little bit of agriculture, because we're going to need it. Prophet said that when the industry goes down, when the wheels stop, when the wheels of industry stop and come back up, it's going to be in the hands of the Moors. But when it stops, what are you going to do? Do you know how to generate pure, clean water to drink, even though it might come out the faucet black? Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to sustain yourself on a little bit of food? Are you disciplined enough to do this? Everybody look real healthy. What are you going to do? How many people can go one full day without eating or drinking anything? Well, that's good, because that's the beginning of discipline. I'm not saying you got to go, because the Prophet said for 3 months we're going to be without. He said that. For 3 months we're going to be without. What do you have going on for yourself right now that will sustain you for 3 months? Are you establishing relationships with our cousins around the world? Or are you look at these some, you know what, I love the Hindustani people. I love them because that's my culture. It's my culture. I know it. I know the Sikhs and the sisters. I know I love the Hindustani. I go in, I exchange with them. If there's a Hindustani store within walking distance, I'm there. Because I would rather support a rotten family member than a modern European. Now, I'm not saying they're rotten because I haven't experienced that, but.
No, but you're right, because you came down where I down south and found one in my neighborhood.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I will support my family, and I will develop a relationship with them because I'm going to need them. Instead, we got our family. I hear children saying, what do they call them? Well, I never heard that one. They call them the children. They call them. It sounds derogatory, but they call them like this derogatory name, you know, and they go in there, even with the Chinese and the Japanese. I love them because they know when you go in there and you representing, got your fast cousin representing, ain't rocking a modern European, they know exactly who you are, and they damn near bow. They bow and step back, bow, and step back, bow. Right? Am I right? We go to Oriental restaurants, they come in, they bow, step back, bow, step back. How can I help you? They don't do that to the other people. I'll be watching. I've watched them. And all the time that I never saw them bring the hot towels out and give it to you. I've never seen them do that with other people. I'm not saying they do, but I've never seen it. But they do it to us, and they don't tax us. And we don't have to say jack. I go to the Oriental grocery store, I don't even have to say nothing about I'm not taxed. But if you go in there representing, they already, oh, she's awake. You don't have to have a conversation. Because there might be an unconscious behind you. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Look, if they didn't get the call, it's all about did you get the call? And let me tell you, just because they didn't get the call, it is not your job to try and be the call.
I gave you enough information to what?
Save yourself.
But you just need to go and
save yourself. Save yourself. If all of the people, this ain't just for the Moors now. They're doing this to modern Europeans because it's all about what? Generation of income and revenue. It's all about the money for them. They don't care that they're breaking up families. They don't care that the baby just came out the womb. They don't care about none of that. And by the way, they're now enlisting the son's aid to go and snatch the baby as it's coming out of, the son is sitting there waiting. Is it out yet? Is it out yet? Give it to me. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get a house. I'm going to get some spending money. I'm going to get a car. Because rather than send the son to jail like they have been doing, they're now making deals with the son just to get their girl's baby and trip her out and trip out the baby. Because that's what happens when you take a newborn baby from the mother. I don't care how beautiful of a son you are, you've got to know that they're setting you up. That is the breakdown of the family of mother and son. So they're setting the sons to go sit in the delivery room and wait for the baby to come out. And as soon as the baby comes out, they got the baby. And then they're calling them up. Yep, I got the baby. Where's my apartment? Food stamps, spending money. You ain't going to come mess with me no more. I ain't going to prison. Yep, you're good. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. That is what's on the horizon. Because look at this. I'm not bashing the sons because some of these daughters, some of my sisters, they need a knock upside their head. You never call Roman soldiers on family, ever. Ever. You never call the Roman soldiers on family, ever. And sons, you never call the Roman soldiers on mother. Because now what's going to happen is you're going to get a complete stranger all up in your business when you could have just sat down and worked it out. Like adults, reasoning people. If you can't reason and solve your own problems, you're incompetent. And they will use you and use you and use you and then spit you out when they're done with you. Give you some cancer or some AIDS and bye-bye.
And isn't that why Prophet Noble Charlie established, we're talking about civic issues for civilized people, right? So that's why you must learn what? Civic.
That's right.
That's why we're uncivilized.
We have got to know that this, number one, they don't care about you. A sister was telling me last night they got a movie out now called Get Out.
Yeah.
And she told me that this is about Asiatic sons who hook up with modern European women, and then they go to the modern European family, and the whole family treat them like a slave, and they can't get out. I was like, good for you. Good for you. You never take sides against the family. Never take sides against the family. I've been saying this for how many years? Never take sides against the family, because that girl, she's calculating, and the only reason she's keying with you is because she knows you're going to come and give her the keys to the stewardship keys to the mother's estate. She knows this, so she will sit there and she will suck your toes just like they showed you in Malcolm X. Right? Malcolm X, what did that Mount European girl do? She sucked his toe. I would suck your toe too if I was going to get the land that you're standing on. But since I'm the air, I don't have to. But this is the real, I'm not saying, look, they are just as mentally traumatized as we are. You didn't know it. A lot of those modern Europeans, they have been mentally damaged. They got to be. And there's books that talk about how they intentionally will take certain modern European women and they will mess with them, split their personality so many times, and then give certain personalities information to do something. That's documented. That's not me making stuff up. All right? That's documented. There was a movie called Sybil. How many people ever saw it? Check it out. That Sally Field made her Field Day debut with Sybil because she was known, I know I'm dating myself, she was known as the Flying Nun. Oh, you can't play this part. You're too much of a goody two-shoe. She killed it. She came in there and killed it and got the lead, Sybil. There's a lot of non-Europeans who are Sybil. They got information that the other personalities do not know about, and that's why if you're an Asiatic son, you are not safe with a modern European daughter. You don't know which one of them personalities is going to pop up. She might get the call and kill your behind. And you won't even know it because what you didn't do your homework. Everything that looked good ain't good for you. All right? So, and I know, look, a perfect example of this, I've never been a big fan of Kanye West, but I saw the progression of his demise. I saw the progression of his demise. He made a deal with the devil. He didn't know that they were going to take out his mother. He's been lost ever since. He's like the lost generation. And then they paired him up with that crazy-ass non-European Kardashian. He's done. Done. You're going to find him dead somewhere. He's going to jump off a building, commit suicide, something. Watch. He's done. He's done.
You were talking about how they try to find something that's different.
Yep.
Could you tell me about that? Where the nationality card and student card, and the person went to the bank with the nationality card and student card, and they said, the bank account where you tell it what you turn to the element is with the student card. But now it's not eyes, but as an example. But now they want to do this and every talking shit. Why they doing it? Causing negative energy, causing that which is against you anyway. They'll go into think tank. I'm trying to tell you.
No, I don't know why you don't hear me.
Used to go and admit because of information alone. They still do that today.
When it comes to Moors and what Moors are doing, and they know that some of them are just doing things without having substance. So they put it to push you, and you get pressed. Oh, and you're tested. And it comes to that. You're seeing it as a player. That's serious. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. It doesn't mean to say, you know what I mean? Like, say that it is. Like, if they say, why aren't you giving your child vaccination? Because it's against my religion. Period. If they ask you what your religion is, none of their business. They'll ask you to see if you are going to buy into more information to pull it out of you. So the next sister that comes, they can say, oh, yes, well, we did have another child who was a Muslim first, and she decided that she was going to do this. Because you talk too much. That's what it's been. That's what it is. The Article 1. Religious freedom. Privacy. That's what it's right. It's private. What? It's the Oh no, wait for the Lord. What you think we got? Listen to the great roller. Thank you to Sister Anna E. because she just was about her information. Do it again. Another one. We had fun today. We had fun. We had a lot of fun. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And take you out of what? Muscle slavery. Hold on. You want to make this little one else? Huh? All right. Where's Brother Lawrence to do the invocation out, or is there someone else who would like to do the invocation out? Oh, yes, please. All right. Someone else? And also, I'm going to put this up on the side. Masquerade Ball, Moor's Masquerade Ball. This is Sutton Route at Philadelphia, at Philadelphia Territory, and his wife Sabrina are giving this on Saturday, April the 1st, 9 to 2. Temptations Banquet Hall, 218 West Shelton. I know I'm supposed to say, but I'll put it on the site, and you can re-listen to this. Because we got like 5 minutes before the singing raffle, 40 notes per person, Moorish garb or formal attire with a mask. April the 1st. Tickets are online and at Moore's Masquerade, evenbright.com. Password is Sheikh Amexem. I'm putting it on the site. Oh, boy. Okay, let's do an invocation out for the record, and then you can make the announcement. And thank you. All right. Father of the universe, Father of love and justice, Allah is my guide, my protector, my strength, and my salvation by night and by day. Prophet, we can't hear the person reading. The problem was that they couldn't hear you. That's why, because you didn't use the microphone. But it's all good. Peace and love. That's what it is. That's how we
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to.